Hello, I'm Congressman Charlie Dent. Thank you for being here for the Lehigh Valley Manufacturing Summit. First, let me apologize for not being with you in person. I truly regret this. But I do want to especially thank the Vinci Science Center for putting on this Summer of Manufacturing and hosting this summit here today. It's very important that you are so engaged. I also want to thank some of the principal sponsors of this event: Air Products and Chemicals, Lehigh County, B. Braun, Allen Organ, ATAS, F.L. Smith, and I suspect there are others. But I just want to say thank you to all of you who've helped put this program together. American manufacturing, let's talk about it for a moment. You know, if I had a nickel for every time that someone walked up to me and said, you know, we don't make anything in America anymore and American manufacturing is dead, if I had a nickel for every time someone said that, I'd be a very wealthy man. But the truth is, American manufacturing is not dead. In fact, quite the opposite. We are the greatest manufacturing power on earth, the United States of America, and we should celebrate that fact. We represent 20% of global manufacturing output, about $2.155 trillion worth of output each year. That's more than 45% of the manufacturing output of China, and they're supposedly eating our lunch. It's true, our manufacturing sector is under a great deal of pressure. But if American manufacturing were a national economy, it would be the sixth largest economy in the world, just behind France and just ahead of the United Kingdom, Italy, and Brazil. It's also true that American manufacturing has seen employment losses over the last 30 or 40 years. You know, since the 1970s, we lost about 7 million jobs in manufacturing. That's the bad news. But the good news is we become a much more productive manufacturing sector. You know, back in the 1970s, the average manufacturing worker was producing about $60,000 worth of output each year. Today, it's about $180,000 worth. It's tripled. And, you know, we've become a stronger manufacturing nation in large part because we've become much more innovative. We've used technology very effectively, and we're more productive. So the sector has changed, and it is strong. But we have to do a great deal to maintain that competitive edge. You know, we're not going to be able to simply sit on our laurels. You know, when you look at China and India, for example, they are producing collectively about 700,000 engineers and other technical people. Contrast that to the United States, and we're producing about 70,000. It's a 10-to-1 ratio. This is not a precise apples-to-apples comparison, but I think you get the point. So, to the extent that Washington can be helpful, we can be helpful in the development of science, technology, engineering, and math programs. And luckily, in the Lehigh Valley, we have a program like the Vinci Science Center that really does a great deal to help foster this interest of our young people in these types of fields. It is in our national interest that we develop those so-called STEM opportunities, science, technology, engineering, and math. It's absolutely essential that we do that. And we're delighted that we have Da Vinci here to help us, and we've adopted policies in Washington to help advance these areas. Also, what can we do to help manufacturing? Certainly, we need more regulatory relief. We need a more fair and equitable tax system that encourages and stimulates investment, growth, and jobs. These are all important things. And also, we have to talk about American manufacturing in a winning sense. We can win in the competition globally. Many of these companies that are right here in our community are competing very successfully globally, and we need to expand markets for American producers. Think about it for a second. You know, when we engage in bilateral trade agreements with countries like Colombia or Panama or South Korea, what often is the case, before agreements are ever enacted, many of these countries have access to the American marketplace with very little tariff or barriers. But American manufacturers, producers, and farmers, they often face very heavy tariffs as they try to sell into those countries. So by enacting some of these bilateral trade agreements, we're actually lowering the barriers for the American producer. And when we do that, we win, and we create jobs right here. So that's something else we can do. And so, but there's so much more on the policy level. And I think that we as policymakers have to really listen very carefully to what our manufacturing sector has to say. It's a tough environment out there, and they have to compete. And when their costs are raised because of regulatory burdens, inequitable tax treatment, onerous trade provisions, then it really does harm our sector. And so we have to nurture this sector. And one other thing I want to say, despite this very difficult economic time we're living in, and despite the deficits and the debt that we're all reading about and learning about and understanding the great challenges to this nation, I still remain very optimistic. And I do so because of the fact that our manufacturing sector in particular is so innovative and so productive. America is the point of the spear. This is a country where people have come for centuries now. They've come here because they wanted opportunities. They come here because they're prepared to take a risk and even prepared to fail and then start over again and take another risk. That's what separates this country culturally from just about any other place in the world. The people come here for the right reasons, and they are going to be successful come hell or high water. And so we have this kind of determined population, innovative, industrious, and it's something that we should never lose. And so again, and to the manufacturers who are here, you, more than any other folks in our society, represent the point of the spear. Think about what American manufacturing has achieved over the years. All the innovations, all the improvements to our standard of living and our quality of life. We owe so much to our manufacturing community. And for all those discoveries and inventions and gadgets that have yet to be created, you're going to be the ones who will be creating them, and you're going to further continue to improve our standard of living, our productivity, and advance this great nation. So once again, I want to thank you all for participating. Thank you all for being here. And especially thanks to the Da Vinci Science Center for this wonderful program, this Summer of Manufacturing, the Lehigh Valley Manufacturing Summit. Please enjoy the program, and I hope you all get a great deal out of it. Thank you very much.